Welcome, it's 2020. People want to know Facebook or Instagram. Whether you're a marketer, small business owner, entrepreneur, which is better? Which one should I pour my investment of time and energy and maybe even money into in this year of our Lord, 2020? Let's break it down. Well, if you know me for a hot second, you know that I'm not just going to pick one and tell you that it's only worth your time to invest in that one and don't do anything in the other, because that's terrible advice. But there are trade-offs in how you approach each of those platforms, how much time you spend on each of those platforms, and the certain KPIs, key performance indicators, to pay attention to know that you're doing the right activities and that you're set up for the most success. And they are different, so we can compare them. So the first one let's talk about is Facebook in 2020. First thing, elephant in the room, Facebook in 2020 is somewhat of a depressing place as a consumer. It is not a fun atmosphere to be on Facebook right now. There is just a lot of negativity. There's a lot of poor content going around. So from a business standpoint, a marketing standpoint, is that a great place to be putting your brand out there? And to that, I would still say, yes, it is. Facebook, it is the social media giant. I would say it's probably the one that's been around the longest now at the scale that it is. There are other social medias that have been around longer. I think MySpace is still a thing, obviously, but nowhere near as valuable. So Facebook, in its old age, has evolved slightly, I think, from a traditional social media platform. To me, Facebook in 2020 feels like, from a business standpoint, a social media site for websites and brands. If you are a local business, you absolutely have to have a Facebook page. There is just no way around it. If you are not present some way online, then you just don't exist. And Facebook is the easiest, low cost, and most transparent way to have that kind of presence. So I would argue that within the last couple of years, 2020 especially, we've crossed the threshold where if you have a really great Facebook page and you're a local business, you probably don't even need a website anymore, because when people search for you, they're going to come up on Google with your Facebook page. As long as you have that basic information really tight, as what you do, who you're looking to serve, how to contact you, how to locate you, the hours of operation, that information needs to be airtight. So you really have to curate that with intentionality, because that is where people are going to look for that information. If they have questions about you or searching for you, your Facebook page is going to come out, and that info is going to be the first thing that they see. Now, in terms of curating content on Facebook, that's a little bit different story. The advantages of Facebook is that it's a nice place to have information that could live on your website, live there as well. I think it's better to have that live on a Facebook page than a website. As of right now, as long as you're not relying on funnels and conversions that you specifically want to curate. If you're just a local business, I almost think it's better to exist on Facebook than a website if you have to choose, because the average consumer is very familiar with the navigation of Facebook, and so they know how to find the information that they're looking for. They don't know exactly how you have laid out your website versus how the next person has laid out their website. And so sometimes it's just not even worth the effort if you're trying to find a phone number or an address. They want to find your Google listing or your Facebook page so that they can find something that they are familiar navigating. So that's an advantage that you should take control of. But in terms of curating content, Facebook is a great place to communicate to your audience. And I think it falls into two categories that I think it's advantageous to focus on. And one is communicating what people need from your brand, and then also splicing in what they want from your brand. And so a good way of differentiating the two comes from an example of a local hot dog cart that we have in my town that's run by our good friends Sarah and Chad, Frankie's Hot Dogs. Their logo looks like this. So Frankie's Hot Dogs, they do a lot on Facebook, and they do a really, really good job marketing themselves on Facebook. They're a hot dog cart, and so every week they're in a new location depending on the day of the week, and it all moves around and it all changes. They also change the hot dog of the week that they have, or the Frank of the week. And so on their Facebook page, a lot of what they put out is what people need to know. where are they going to be on this day of the week or that day of the week, what times are going to be there, what the Frank of the week is going to be that week. And so people are used to finding the information that they need from their Facebook page. The other side of their content that might surprise you is they also post a lot of really great memes. They're not memes that are, hot dog specific or anything. They're just memes that people would find funny. And so they can get away with that as a brand. People like, seeing the polarity of that content together, information they need to see and then information that just is lighthearted and makes them laugh. And so they do that really, really well. They don't spam people. They don't, overly post. They do an excellent job walking the line between need to know content and want to see content, so that if there's a week that they take off, that they don't have anything to post that people need to know, it's not surprising that they're still going to communicate in a fun, lighthearted way. People are going to still see their brand that week. So they do an excellent job at that. So what people need to know, what people want to know, I think those are great things to have on a Facebook page, and still really advantageous in terms of organic posting. Having your basic info locked down as if it was as important as your website, that people are going to go here to learn what they have to about interacting with your company, your local business, or your online brand. And the third thing I still think that is really advantageous in Facebook in 2020 is advertising. Facebook, by and large, has democratized advertising for everyone. So they make it really easy for their tools. Facebook knows a ton about all their users, so the targeting can be really specific. And it really is a true bidding system on your ads. And so if there aren't a lot of people in your space buying ads, your ads are going to be cheaper that week. And that's just a great feeling to kind of have a good pulse on, am I getting a good value, return on investment? The analytics and tracking is really great to figure out, your click-through rate, your conversion rate. And it's built in a way that if you're a sophisticated marketer, you can get a lot out of it. There's a lot of depth. But if you're not a sophisticated marketer and you're just trying to, cut your teeth in this space, it's really straightforward. You're not going to be confused by the process. And there's lots of online tutorials of how to set up Facebook ads and how to find the right audience and customer segmentation, which we, broke down in this video. So that's a huge advantage, just to have a Facebook page, even if you don't find a lot of time to post content on it, which I don't recommend, but you get busy. Having a Facebook page that has your basic information, locked in there, and then being able to leverage Facebook ads from time to time, it's a huge advantage in that space. Now let's talk about Instagram in 2020. Instagram still has that importance of aesthetic feel to it. You still see lots of really great images and storytelling on Instagram. I don't feel like Instagram is a great place to live. I'm going to hedge that statement a little bit by saying there are communities and brands that exist on Instagram exclusively that have done a really great job creating this large following, this engaging community, but they've done that through one really specific way that I've noticed that might not be for everyone, that I'll touch on in a sec. And so on Instagram, I think it's important to be present. I think there are two things you need to have, one of which to be present on Instagram. One is either have an inclination towards aesthetics. So if you understand what good design looks like, if you know how to take a cool picture, and if you are good with filters or all that stuff, that is one way I think you can be successful regardless of what you're selling or doing. This is things like coffee shops or food or anyone in like a maternity space. Typically your product is something that you can set up and you can take great pictures of it. The other one is being personal. So if you're in, let's say, financial services, let's be honest, there's nothing sexy about IRA contribution limits. So the other side of that is to just be a person, and so you can do either one of those, and you can do both. But I think you need at least one of those to find success on Instagram. Back to people that I've seen create large communities on Instagram, they have almost exclusively done that through the stories feature on Instagram, not the feed feature. And I feel like that's been coming the last few years, 2018, 2019. You just didn't see as many posts going in the feed. And the posts you did see in the feed, you didn't see as much reach and engagement. But stories, I feel like, have only grown almost exponentially. So the people that have large audiences on Instagram every single day are posting 20 to 30 or more stories every day of what's going on, or leaning into that aesthetic side. So if that is not for you, if you're not going to be posting that consistently every day, it might be difficult to gain the traction that you're looking for on Instagram, at least in 2020, just with the way that it's busy, it's loud, there's a lot going on there. You do have to sort of out communicate if you want to be noticed or starting today on Instagram. And again, I don't think it's going to happen through the feed, because there are brands that I post 10, 15 times a day, and I maybe see one of their images. So the feed isn't going to have as much reach, but the story can. So this is where I see maybe things going. I think Instagram is wanting to not get beat out by TikTok. We can't forget that Instagram is owned by Facebook. And so even when we talk about Facebook versus Instagram, we're essentially talking about the same logic and learning and analytics. I don't know that's the exact same algorithm, but they have the same information on people, and they're serving content in a really similar fashion. When we talk about something like Instagram versus TikTok, however, those are completely different algorithms. TikTok is a very new app, and so as users are being generated, their algorithm is very, very different in terms of Instagram's. You can have 1 or 2 or 3 posts that just go quote unquote viral, and all of a sudden you have 2 followers, but your post gets in front of 1 million people, and then your follower goes up to 10,000 overnight. That sort of thing isn't really happening on Instagram anymore, because the content and the structure is more mature. It's really hard to just start, have an excellent post and have it go viral on Instagram. That's something that happens in all social medias. You have this sort of infancy in the beginning, where creators are being discovered and established, and the algorithm is rewarding really good creators with huge exposure. As that starts to settle out, you see that less and less. So the reason that's relevant to the Facebook Instagram conversation is since Instagram is owned by Facebook, and Facebook does not like to be beat in any category, I do foresee Instagram making changes with their algorithm to try and compete more heavily with TikTok. They've already introduced Reels on Instagram, which is, I don't want to say a ripoff, that sounds mean, but that's what it is a ripoff of TikTok. They've done that before with ripoffs of Snapchat and things like that. And as we've seen, Snapchat kind of is, going down. And so they're successful when they want to go head to head with someone and they want to beat them. They are successful. TikTok is going to be a big rival for them, probably as big, if not bigger, than Snapchat. And so they're going to get pretty aggressive. And I think a lot of it is going to have to do with rewarding creators with a broader reach, which is going to be difficult because you don't see that a lot with mature social media. So I think it is worth investing in both Facebook and Instagram for the reasons I stated. Facebook, you have to have that information out there for people, because that's where they're going to find you. Even if you have a website, have it there as well, because people might prefer to find you on Facebook because they're, again, familiar with how that navigation works. Also, you have access to the Facebook advertising platform, which also over to Instagram is the same platform. It's great to have access to that. I think you should try to make an effort to be posting on Facebook. But if you don't find time to post on Facebook, I don't think that's the end of the world. Still exist there. Still have access to the advertising platform. Post when you can. Don't beat yourself up if you don't get to it. Instagram on the other side, it doesn't do you a lot of good just to create an Instagram page and not do anything with it. So be in that space as well. Spend time making great content for the feed, but most of your time should really be in stories, and that should be aesthetic or personal or both, to really relate with an audience there. Typically, if you're even inclined or interested in Instagram, it's because that your audience is probably on there because they like aesthetics, or maybe you're on Instagram personally and you see people that are in a similar space to you having a lot of success. And so you're going to find community if you try and build community, but you do have to be specific about what you're doing. You do have to be intentional and repetitive, and keep hitting it over and over again every single day, because that's just the type of effort that it takes to get some traction on Instagram. So that's my thoughts on Facebook versus Instagram 2020. I feel like we're seeing Facebook and Instagram move into their legacy status. And I don't mean that in a negative way. Typically when we talk about legacy, it means sort of old and outdated. These are still companies that are run by really, really smart and driven people that do not want to lose. And so, we're getting a time where they're getting to a place where they're a little bit more legacy. This opening up just a small enough gap for these new companies to be established. and gain enough traction that then Facebook and Instagram, they see a threat to their dominance, so they're going to stay on their toes. They're going to stay sharp. It's very unrealistic that we see Facebook or Instagram just go away. And so even though Facebook's been open for over a decade and Instagram's probably coming up on 8-9 years, you might think, well, if I didn't start when it first started, those are established platforms now, which they are. It's not worth it for me to start now. That's not true. We have a decade or more, my prediction, of growing on Facebook and Instagram. So would it have been better to start before? Absolutely. Should I start today? Yes, you should. Choosing between Facebook or Instagram, please don't choose. Please do both. Just be smart and wise about how you interact with each of them and how you focus on those KPIs to figure out, is this working? Am I doing the right thing here? Don't treat them the same. My last warning, don't link your Instagram and your Facebook account and just post the exact same content that you post on Instagram and Facebook. That's okay if you're not posting anything on Facebook and you're just getting something out there by whatever you post on Instagram. But by and large, you're not going to find a lot of success just posting the same content from Instagram because people are not looking for the same content on Facebook and Instagram. That's why the same company owns 2 different social media sites. People want different things out of each. So don't just link them. I think you should spend time on both. Even though you're trying to figure out how to maximize your efficiency, it's going to be worth it in the long run. Hope this brought you some value. Whether it did or it didn't, I would love to hear in the comments below. I would also appreciate it if you like this video and subscribe to this channel so you see when all the latest videos come out. And if you think anyone that you know would get some value out of this video specifically, if you would share that with them, that would mean a lot to me. Thanks.